Alright guys, so in our three-part video on taking care of Glocks, we've kind of talked about some of the things that we've done here. We're going to talk a little bit about some of the upgrades that I recommend and how to clean out your magazines. So we'll talk a little bit about that. So the first one I always do is I do my 25-cent trigger job, and if you watched the video before that, you saw how to do the 25-cent trigger job. I always add an extended slide release, the Glock one. I always recommend buying these items from the manufacturer if you're going to do that. Like I said, not sponsored by Glock, not recommending Glock or anything else. This is just for instructional purposes, of course. So I take that guy, I put a new slide stop on there that has a little extra bump, and I put the extended mag release in here that's a little higher, allows the gun to really be able to press down, especially if you've got small hands. One of those things I recommend. I've never had it, you know, sit there and pop the mag out when I've slid it into my holster, or it's going up against my skin, or it's going up against anything. I don't have that happen. You've got to actually push that sucker to get it to come down. A lot of people hate that. The other thing I do is I go ahead and I trim out right underneath the trigger guard here so I can get my hand right up in there and get really good grip on there. That's a lot easier. I hate that Glock knuckle, they call it, that comes in when you don't trim that guy out. So I just come in and I trim that out and I just grind it right down, and that's all I do there. The other thing sometimes I'll do is I'll take that little safety and I'll polish that safety down just a little bit, just to get it to where it's a little more comfortable on my fingers, so it's not sticking out so far, but it's still disengaging. Okay? Once you've done that, the other thing I tend to do is I tend to buy 40 cal guns and I put 9mm barrels in them. Okay? So this is a Lone Wolf barrel. This is a Glock 23. Glock 22s, they're all over the place right now. So Glock 23 and Glock 22s, you can get them almost brand new in some cases, where for $300, you know, sometimes for Glock 22s, and $350 for Glock 23s, you know, which are basically Glock 17s and Glock 23s. You just need to switch out the barrels and switch out the magazines. And these magazines, the 40 cal magazines, can be used, and they don't work quite as well as your other ones, not as reliable, but they will. You can just shoot the 40 cal magazine that's in there just by switching out the barrel. Something to think about. How to disassemble your magazines. These are a pain. You have to do one of two things. You either have to pinch in on both sides with a pair of pliers and squeeze it in there until you can slide it off, or buy a Glock magazine tool. Push the pin in there like that, push forward, and that whole front comes off. Slide that guy off, pull out your pin, pull out your slide, go ahead and clean it all up, make sure you swab it all down inside, slide that guy back down in there. Okay? And put your plate back on side with the little bumper up. Make sure it's all hit all the bottom. Slide our butt plate back on. Make sure the hole pops back up in here. One other thing I usually do with all my magazines, this is just a brand new magazine, is I always tend to drill a hole in the bottom to let out any water in case I drop the gun in water, that I can let any water in the magazine out. That's always kind of one of those things. Something I do, I guarantee it probably voids the warranty on anything you're trying to do there, so just kind of keep that in mind. The last thing I always do after I've cleaned my guns and do things like that, I always talk about checking it. The most time that I'm going to sit there and say that you have time you don't know if your gun works is right after you've cleaned it to when you've shot it. So I tend not to clean guns, and especially Glocks, anywhere from 200 to 500 rounds, you're fine, in my opinion. So I tend not to clean them within that 250 range. I usually let them go 300-400 rounds without a big cleaning. Just kind of wipe them down and take care of it. One thing I always do if I'm messing with the gun at all is I go ahead, rack her, make sure she's working good. I'm going to stick a number 2 pencil, or whatever kind of pencil you have, nice wooden pencil with a rubber eraser on there. Slide that right down the barrel. And when I pull the trigger, she jumps. I'll let you guys see that one more time. So I rack it, slide it down inside, pull the trigger, and it jumps. That allows you to know that your firing pin is now reset. And again, we set there. Once I've got it reset, I'm going to hold my trigger all the way to the back, rack it back, let it slide forward, and pull the trigger again, make sure it's all resetting, everything's working properly. I put a magazine in there, make sure my slide has come all the way to the back, and we're good to go. Okay? Now, our next video is going to be on type 1, type 2, and type 3 malfunctions for your handguns. You know, and then from there, you know, so definitely watch our next video. If you guys have any comments, please leave them at the bottom. Feel free to like and share. Tell your friends. We're just talking about, you got a new Glock? Watch these videos. They're really going to help you guys be able to do the basic maintenance and keep your guns working so they're safe and ready when you need them. As always, have a great day.